Welcome everyone to this very fantastic and blue morning all the way in South Africa. My name is Ali and on camera with me today is Senzo, and we are very happy to be taking you guys out and about this morning. Now, if you've got any comments or any questions, please feel free to send them through using the hashtag Safari Live or use the YouTube chat. Now, we've stopped at this particular spot and I'm going to be quiet for the next little while because we've woken up to the most beautiful call, or one of my favorite calls out in the African bush. I wonder if you can hear it, but if you can, that is the beautiful call of the ground hornbill. Now, it's a very big bird that is hiding amongst this marula tree. It's a little bit of a tricky one because the sun hasn't quite broken through the sky yet, so later on we'll perhaps be able to see it, but managed at least to pinpoint where the sound was coming from. There we go. Senzo got him. That red, that's his face. There we go. Well done, Senzo. Oh, such a beautiful one. Now, it almost appears like this one has a little bit of blue on the side, so that would indicate that this is the female. The females have got a little bit of blue, the males have got a little bit of, well, not blue, just red. I would love to come and see this tree a little bit later on. There's a possibility that maybe they will have a nest there, although I think that's a little bit too optimistic, as they are very picky nesters. They don't just go and nest in any tree that's around. They like very big trees like this ones with very deep holes. But let's just enjoy the call for a few more seconds. Gone quiet, absolutely. Alright, I think the concert might be finished, but what a great way to start the morning. These guys haven't been seen as much as they were during the winter time, probably because there's a lot more foliage around and it's easier for them to hide. But I'm going to count this as a successful start of the day, at least for us, on this Sunday morning. Beautiful. Right. We're going to carry on down the road, see what else we can find, and say goodbye to the beautiful call. But let's head back to Tristan and find out what his plans for the morning are.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's very, very cloudy morning so far, but a very pretty one nonetheless. There's a bit of red sky in the distance, and it's an exciting morning because we've already found the tracks for the wild dogs, and so we're going to try and see if we can find them for all of you. As Ali mentioned, my name's Tristan. On camera I've got Fergus. There's Fergus, and we are interactive, so hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or YouTube chat. Now, we said we had tracks for the dogs. We've also got an interesting situation where the dogs obviously came across something. So the dogs got hold of a bird somewhere along the line, and hold on, let's actually use that light there, Fergus. Isn't that better? That's much better, yes. So the dogs must have got hold of some poor bird that has now been, well, reduced to a feathery mass on the ground. There is not a single bit left there, but dog tracks all around it. So I think maybe one or two of the dogs must have grabbed this and then they've pulled it apart in this area. So they had a little meal before they carried on. Now, this, of course, would have not gone anywhere in terms of trying to sort of satisfy a pack of wild dogs, but a meal is a meal, and they'll grab lots of little things like this as they go. So scrub hairs, birds, nothing is really safe when it comes to wild dogs. Now, what I need to do is try and go back the way I just came and check exactly where these tracks cut off, because I only picked them up quite late. We had already driven over some of them. At first I thought it was a lot of hyena tracks coming down, and then I wasn't really paying attention. It is early in the morning, and then I realized, hang on a second, there were wild dogs yesterday, and these are indeed wild dog tracks. So we've got to try and just look at where they go and what they actually do. Now, the thing is about tracking wild dogs, is to try not get an insect in your eye, because that's never pleasant. That's the first rule of tracking wild dogs. Try not to get an insect in the eye. Yeah, get in your mouth instead. It's much easier on the whole process. At least you can just swallow and carry on. When it's in your eye, you can't see the tracks, and that makes things difficult. But the thing about tracking wild dogs is you need to do it quickly and you need to do it correctly. And so it's not the easiest animal to track. You can't do it slowly, because otherwise you'll sit in a situation where the wild dogs will be on the other side of the world before you even know what's hit you. So you've got to try and sort of get into the tracking quite fast, and then use your vehicle to track more than your feet, because you'll never track wild dogs on foot unless they're on a kill very close by. It's a situation where you've got to know where the tracks are going, and it's much easier to do that via vehicle than it is via the forms of a foot movement. So that's the kind of process, and hopefully it will be a winning one. I'm just trying to see where they went, because they've cut off already, I think. It's so difficult with this light though to actually even see a track. No, they're still going down, some of them. KQ, wild dogs will raise their young by using a den. So what they do is they get themselves a den, a termite mound somewhere that they will den in, and then they basically will use that termite mound for 3 months, where one adult will normally stay behind with the pups and will look after them while the others go off hunting. Once they go off hunting, they then kind of come back, and they will be licked in the face by the young wild dogs in order to try and stimulate them dogs to regurgitate and feed them some food. And so that's how that kind of happens. Once the dogs get to about 6 months, then they start running with the pack, and then you have a situation where they are quite sort of lethal. They will learn how to hunt quite quickly, and by a year old they're participating in hunting and starting to actually bring down their own food. Now I've lost these tracks completely, which means that either they've gone to Gallagher or they've gone south. Now I know Ali is checking the Ballanite, so I'm going to leave her that side. I'm going to go up onto Gallagher shortcut quickly and just check if those tracks don't come out that side. I would have thought that maybe Quarantine would have been a good place for these dogs to hunt, but let's just have a look. I know the dam cam's down, so we can't use you guys to help us with that, but we'll try our very best to see. Dam cam is working, so that's good news. Maybe somebody saw something on the dam cam that can help us. Now, while I check around and look, let's send you across to Ali and see if she's picked up any signs of these wild dog tracks.
We just came from Quarantine and we did a loop around. It was a little dark when we were going around, so we could have missed a track or two, but no signs for any animal being stressed or running or anything else. The only thing that I will say is that we didn't see as many Impala, so I'm sure the Impala know the wild dogs were in the vicinity and probably went somewhere else. Senzo and I, on the other hand, we're heading back towards the Balanites tree, the Torchwood, where Brent fell off yesterday, where we had some sort of leopard track for a female. So we want to just head back in that direction, see if we can maybe pick up on some new tracks, if there's anything around, and see if we can put a face to those feet. World around Hannah, wild dogs are the most endangered predator that we get in this particular area, or in the greater Kruger area, more so than lions and leopards. Now, according to the last census, if I'm not mistaken, there's only about 250 of them left in the Kruger National Park. Now, the Kruger National Park is an area that's about 2.5 million hectares, so to only have 250 wild dogs, it's a very small number. Now, there are a couple of reasons as to why they're endangered. They're endangered because they need very big home ranges, very, very big home ranges, and they need to move around quite a lot. The problem is that they tend to be quite efficient and deadly. So when they move around, it's very hard to keep them in reserves and protected areas, because they'll dig underneath fences and they'll go and kill cattle. And as you can imagine, Impala are used to run around, and they know what to do when they see a wild dog, whereas cattle and sheep and things like that probably have never seen wild dogs in their lives, so they don't really run away from them, and then wild dogs end up killing a lot of them. So in turn, a lot of farmers end up killing them for retaliation, which is not a great thing. They are very beautiful creatures, and whenever you get to see one, then you get to count yourself lucky. I, for one, didn't know wild dogs before I arrived to Africa. How's that? Gordon, I'm not sure if they're closely related. They are in the same family, so they all come from the canid family, and they have a similar or a common ancestor, but I don't think they're that closely related. I think jackals are a little bit more related to foxes than to jackals. Whew, couldn't even think of the word. All right, let's see. I'm trying to keep a clue on the road, see if maybe we can pick up on any new signs, perhaps for the wild dogs, perhaps for the mystery leopard that we had walking around here. Seems like so far we haven't had that much luck, and I'm waiting for the sun to come out because that'll be easier to pick up any tracks. While we do that, let's head back to Tristan, who's still hot on the tracks of the dogs.
Well, we've lost the dog tracks, and that's because we've now got a whole pride of lion tracks on the road. So it's meaning a situation where I'm pretty sure the dogs are not going to have run here if there's a pride of lions, or they ran here already and the lions are there. The lions are in the middle of the road. So that wasn't too difficult. But anyway, we've managed to find some of them. Which lions these are, I don't know yet, but we'll tell you shortly. It's an absolute carpet of lions. It looks like all the sub-adults from the Nkuhuma Pride. That's what it looks like. So it's not many of the adult females are here by the looks of things. I can see maybe 2 adult females with the rest of them, but that is the Nkuhuma Pride incapacitated on the road. So no wild dogs there. That's just lions that are all over the road, which is still not the worst idea. Now, Tax is asking me about these lions, so let me just tell him what's going on. No, Tax, I've just located them. Just come on to Gallagher's shortcut, just south of that shortcut that goes up to the fire break. So, there we go. Now, it's so cool to see the Nkuhuma Pride. We've been spoilt with lions lately, considering how we've had such a drought prior to this. You know, when it was dry, we had virtually no lions. It was a real struggle to find lions. And in the last I'd say about the last week, it's just been lions every day, which is not something that we're complaining about, although these lions look as though they are not going absolutely anywhere today. You can see bellies are already up, feet are up, and so I think it's a situation where these guys must have walked far. And I know they've walked far because last night they were at Simbambili around the Pungwe drainage line. Now, Pungwe drainage line sits just on the eastern side of Simbambili camp. It's very close to Simbambili camp, and that's a long way from here. So these lions must have walked all the way through the night to get to this point, and they've come from sort of midway in Djuma and turned northward. So they didn't walk a straight line to this area, which means that it's probably been a long day for the sub-adults, and that's why they're all having a bit of a nap at the moment. But everybody's quite relaxed. I see that the little cub is also inside here, just on the far right of the pride. It's lying there. It is. So there's the little cub over there, and then you can see the rest of them going forward. Now, after seeing the Styx Pride yesterday and the day before, you realize very quickly just how much better quality the Nkuhumas are at the moment. They are much bigger lions. Their coats are in far better condition. So, you know, it's amazing when you see the Styx by themselves, you don't really notice it as much, but there's definitely more bulk in these Nkuhumas and far more sort of cleanliness, if you want to call it that. They almost look like poster lions as opposed to the poor Styx, who are still struggling a little bit with that mange. But if you listen around us, there's francolins going absolutely crazy. So these are the alarm calls that we often try and use when finding cats. So it's a very different call to their normal call when they do this. This is when they're sitting on a tree and they're upset because they've now seen this predator, and they make this different sound altogether. And so we've got one on each side of us. I would imagine maybe they were waking up this morning and deciding, well, we're going to come onto the road, and all of a sudden saw a pile of cats, and then very quickly spooked and went up into the trees. And so that's why there's so much noise all around us. I'm interested to know, though, where the rest of these lions are, or where the rest of the pride is, because all of them went to the west, and it seems only a few of them have come back. It looks like only 2 adult females in this whole grouping that I can see. It's so difficult now to make out the difference between them, but if I count them, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 11. Do we have 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we've got 11. So we're actually only missing one then. And it's difficult to make them all out also when they're facing away from you. But we're missing one lioness then out of this whole group. Now, she might be quite close by. There might be one just lying off a little bit in the bush. Can you see her? Ah, there she is. She is lying there. Okay, so the whole pride is here. Excellent news. So we've got all 12 of the Nkuhumas around, which is great. So hopefully they are going to get up at some point. I'm pretty sure when that sun gets up, they are going to move. So Emily, this is a very interesting question, and one it's quite in depth. You're asking about guidelines in terms of guides being trained as to proximities to animals, what they can and can't do, how close you can get, and is it different for different animals? So the short answer to that, Emily, is yes, guides are trained on it, but no, they don't always apply it, and a lot of guides can be quite unethical about what goes on, and they don't appreciate the animal's space, which is not good. And so it's something that gets trained into, the better training schools try and train it as well as possible. And the third part of that answer is yes, it does depend on different animals. So basically what happens is when you become a guide, you're going to start driving around and you're going to have an assessor with you, or a trainer that's going to be with you, and you're not going to have the first idea. I can tell you, the first time you are becoming a guide and you're behind the steering wheel and you come across a pride of lions like this, you're absolutely petrified as to how far you can go, how close you can go. The concept of lions right next to you in an open vehicle just doesn't really seem to sit very well. It kind of doesn't feel like that's the best idea at all. And so you kind of have to think about what you're doing a little bit, and you've got to get told as to how it is. And the thing is about any sort of work that we do out here, the idea is not to disturb the animal. So yes, a vehicle is going to disturb an animal. Now I just need to move a little bit because Tax is behind me, so I just want to pull off so he can also see what's going on, and then we'll have a situation where both of us are in the right place. Is that alright, Ferg? Good. So there's a proximity situation where you don't want to disturb the animal in any way. You want to be able to go into a place where the animal itself going to feel uncomfortable in your presence. So if you had to drive here and the whole pride had scattered and jumped off the road, you've driven too close. Whereas where we are now, you saw when we arrived, as soon as we saw them in the road, we just pulled off a little bit and we viewed them from there, and therefore those lions are not going to be too phased. In fact, most of them didn't even lift their heads when we arrived. So that's one thing. The second thing is that a lot of the animals here in the Sabi Sands area are very relaxed. They know the vehicles, they know people on foot, and so generally they're not too scared when a car approaches. But some animals will be a little bit different. And if we take, let's say hypothetically, Hukamuri as an example, as opposed to Hosana, you can drive and he'll walk within a meter of you, whereas Hukamuri still doesn't quite have that trust in you, and he'll kind of move 5-6 meters away. So it's important to recognize the signs when you see an animal crouching or an animal looking in your direction or shaking its head. If it's an elephant, then you know you've gotten too close. And so that's the thing with these animals, is to try and just judge when you are not affecting them. If you're affecting them, then you've gotten too close and you've made an error in your judgment. So as soon as an animal changes what it's doing, or its path, or the way that it's walking, the speed that it's walking, you've done it wrong. And so it's important to learn how to judge that distance, and there's very telltale signs in any animal when you're that close. Of course, things like impalas and wildebeest and zebras, they're animals that are quite common out here. They cross roads a lot, and so often you get into a situation where you come across them on the roads and you slowly kind of move through them and they just part there on the road and you can go through. But things like elephants, you can't do that with. You just have to give them right of way, and most animals you should actually give right of way as well. But generally we try not to disturb them and try and leave them alone as best as possible. Right, well, that was a fairly good start to our morning and fairly easy tracking session with regards to lions. We'll leave the difficult stuff up to Ali and, well, my friend Byron, who is out and about, but is not on a vehicle this morning. He's deciding to use his legs and go for a little walk.
I am. Good morning, everybody. My name is Byron, and on camera with me is VM, and Herbie's back also. So it's great to be on the bushwalk. I'm quite excited already because it's such a nice start to the morning. We've got a ground hornbill in the tree behind me. I'm sure you can see it. It was calling this morning. It's been calling non-stop. So nice to see the beautiful ground hornbill. I think it's that same one, just one lone ground hornbill. I haven't seen another one around. I'm trying to listen if we can hear another one, but so far nothing. That wonderful booming sound of the ground hornbill. And then we've got another friend who's coming to visit. I'm going to try use a bit of cover. And let's have a look at this. Beautiful elephant walking across a clearing behind us. And these ellies at the moment have been loving these clearings because of all the marula fruit around here. That ground hornbill just gave a little call. The wonderful thing is the wind is in our favor. So I don't think this elephant knows that we're here. I'm going to film. Let's go a little bit closer. We can just use this cover over here. This elephant will probably see us because we are quite out in the open, but we're quite a distance from it, so there's no reason to worry. But what we'll do is we'll use this little bit of cover in front of me. There we go. So as soon as we're behind it, the elephant can't see it. The wind is in our favor, it can't smell us. And then as we get a bit closer, we'll probably keep our voices down even more so. I think we're going to have a lovely view of this ellie. This is what I love about a bushwalk. Being able to view the animals on foot. It gives you a completely different experience. So let's just try to squeeze past here a little bit. Have a look. Really enjoying the marula. That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Like I said, the wind does feel as if it's in our favor, and I've checked it. Isn't this beautiful? Really, really great start to a bushwalk. Okay, well, I'm going to spend a little bit of time with this elephant, see which way he moves, and then we'll probably carry on. But let's go across to Ellie now and see what tracks she's got.
We do. We've got some more tracks, and it's a very similar track to the animals that Tristan has found. So these are the tracks for a male lion, and it seems like he's come all the way from the western corner and then carried on walking. But the reason why I wanted to stop here more than show you guys a male lion track is because often we get asked, how do you tell how fresh a track is, what's going on? So this one is quite clear because there's a good indication, come break little grass, of what's going on, because you can see here are the toes of the male lion. 1, 2, 3, 4 very big toes, and here's the back pad. But inside of the track of the male lion, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 and a little back pad, and all around it there are little tracks. You can see here a little boop, and then a toe and a claw, a toe and a claw, a toe and almost a claw. I think perhaps this one is a little bit clearer. So this means that, for example, this male lion walked on this road in that direction much before the little white-tailed mongoose, whose tracks are this one's around here, walked on top of it. So it gives us an idea. It's hard to tell always, we cannot give you an exact time of the day, but white-tailed mongoose definitely walk later. So that is an indication that these tracks are not as fresh. So perhaps the male lions, this is where they started, or this male lion, this is where he started his walk in the early evening yesterday, and during the night a white-tailed mongoose walked all over its tracks, and then just gives us an idea that this male lion is not really close to where we are now, but he definitely walked this way. And it's a very cool track. I haven't seen the tracks for a white-tailed mongoose for a little while, Always nice. Now, just in case we're going to carry on down the road, see if perhaps we can find more tracks as to where this male lion went to, because I think it's just the Nkuhuma girls. No males there. So we'll carry on looking. Anna Marie, I think it depends on what they're looking for and the type of environment that they live in. Leopards are very well known for covering massive distances in the desert, but so are lions, just because they have to move so far to get food and water. Now, I think here it also depends on some of our individuals. We know creatures like Tingana and the Hukumuri male, they like moving a lot and they can cover very vast distances, but so do the Birminghams. So I think it just depends. On average, I'm not too sure which one covers more. I'm tempted to say leopards, but I could be mistaken. Now, there are more lion tracks here on the road, so good. I'm going to carry on following this ones, see where they lead us to. Hopefully they'll lead us to someone with a mane. Lots of pretty tracks around here. Alright, seems like Byron has gotten closer to the elephant, so let's head over to him and have a look.
Not much closer actually. The elephants, I suppose, moved a little closer to us, but still happily feeding on the marula. And sorry, I'm just off to the right. I just spotted a wildebeest busy rolling around, dust bathing. Quite a few wildebeest out here now. Look at that, enjoying a dust bathe. It's awesome. Look, now the other side turns over and rolls on the other side. That's to help protect their skin a little bit, get rid of some of the flies and ticks perhaps. Also, male wildebeest do that. They've got like a rubbing spot. It's territorial behavior. They'll roll in the sand. The hornbills, wow. And a hyena. Oh, look, there goes a hyena. Well spotted, Herbie. Hyena running through the grass. Those ground hornbills are back. It's actually 3 of them now. We'll go to them shortly. Let's just see where this hyena is going. Look at this. A ground hornbill's coming past. There goes the ground hornbill. That's one of them. There are 2 others in the tree. Gee, this is a great start to bushwalk. So we've got the elephant behind us over there, the wildebeest over there, the hyena is moving through that area, and the ground hornbills up in the tree. This is really, really great. We may just stay up here for the course of the drive. Here comes the other ground hornbills. There they go. Beautiful. The elephant was upset by those ground hornbills. Look at that. He gave a little bit of a trumpet and kind of ran towards those ground hornbills. I think that hyena ran straight through. Did you see him, Herbie? I think he crossed. Can you still see him? Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Running off. Now, I wonder if that hyena can't smell something or heard something, perhaps. Maybe an alarm call that we didn't hear. There's a Franklin alarm calling down in the drainage line. Maybe we can go and investigate over there. Don't know if the hyena will respond to Franklin calls though, but you never know. You never know. However, the hyena, we reckon, we've been speaking about tracks this morning, and I reckon that the hyena is probably the best tracker in the bush. Because they always manage to find the lions with a kill. They always manage to find leopard with a kill, and wild dog. So they, and of course cheetah. So any animal that manages to make a kill, the hyena's not far behind. They can find them, and that is so funny. Sorry, the elephant is chasing the ground hornbills. Let's come across Bedazzle, the hyena, I think it's highly unlikely that the hyena would come towards us while we're on foot. Usually they're a bit skittish. They might have a look and then choose to move off. They generally don't know what we are, so they get a bit nervous and they move off. I've never had a hyena come close to us on foot, although I think, camping, but that's a different story. When you're camping, the smell of food, I've had hyenas around our camp at night. I've had hyena come up to us when we stop for drinks in the afternoons for our sundowners. But that, I think, is different. There's a vehicle involved, there's camp involved, smell of food, but then they usually just move off. Now that elephant was not happy with those ground hornbills. It really ran after them and chased them. He's gone over the ridge now. What a great start. This was wonderful. Well, it sounds like Tristan has got quite a bit of luck this morning already. Let's go and see what he's got to show you.
I have had a bit of luck this morning, Byron. From wild dog tracks to lions lounging on the road. It's been a good start to the day, that's for sure, and a good start to a Sunday. So hopefully our lions will continue to relax and then maybe wake up a little bit, just so that we can at least see them on the move for a while. But I don't think that that's going to be happening. I think we're going to have a situation where we're going to have some rather sleepy lions taking it very easy for the morning. And they don't really look like they want to go anywhere, do they? They're not exactly kind of brimming with energy and sort of running around all over the show. It looks as though they're just taking it as easy as possible. Like I said, they've probably been quite busy already. I mean, they look as though they've had a small meal. It doesn't look like anything major, maybe a little, Impala or something like that between them, because some of them have got little rounded tummies, but others not so much. So maybe they were hunting quite a bit last night and they've moved a lot, and so I suppose they've earned their snooze. You can see that's a very content young female that's lying at the front of the Pride. So very cool to see them though, and even if they are sleeping like this, the Nkuhuma Pride is just such a special part of Safari Live and in the history that we've had with them, and the fact that they are probably some of the most beautiful lions that we've got in the Sabi Sands makes them an epic pride to spend time with. And what I'm hoping is that there is quite a few clouds around, but I'm hoping that the sun breaks a little bit, and if the sun breaks, maybe that's going to be a trigger just to get them to move a little bit and just to see what they get up to and what they maybe are potentially going to do. But I have a sneaky suspicion that this is what we're going to see from them throughout the drive, and then they're going to be here this afternoon, and hopefully then this afternoon they'll be up and moving. But epic nonetheless to find them, and like I say, it's always good when we've got lions around. Now, if only another herd of buffalo would be back on Djuma, that would certainly help the situation and motivating our Pride to actually begin movement and start going somewhere. You can see though all of the ears that are flicking all the time. It's because the flies are uncontrollable this morning. Wisteria whisper, the reason lions like roads so much is very simple. That's much like any other animal. So you'll find dogs, hyenas, lions, leopards, most animals will, even buffalo to a degree, use the roads, and it's because if you look on each side of the road, the vegetation that's there is long grass, it's thick, it's dense, and so there's two things about that. One, you can't really see very nicely in front of you. It's much easier on a road just to kind of plow along and to be able to make distance quite quickly. There's no obstructions, there's no difficulty in seeing where you're going. You're not going to get your foot into a ditch or anything like that. It's going to be much easier to walk. The second thing is that walking in long grass has its problems. When you walk in long grass, you're going to pick up ticks, you're going to pick up parasites, burrs on your coat, just general amounts of things that are going to make your life a little bit more difficult. So more parasites, more in terms of, like I say, things that are going to be on your coat that you have to groom off later. So walking on a road negates that aspect of it. And the third thing is that roads generally run in a straight direction, and so if lions or leopards or whatever animal wants to try and get somewhere, it's much easier for them to use that road than it is to go through thickets. They don't have to go around trees or anything like that. They can just get on the road and go. And so that's why they use roads a lot. In terms of sleeping like this, they're sleeping on the road probably because the grass is very damp this morning. There was a lot of dew on the grass when we came out. I had got out, drove past some grass and you could see the droplets all over it. And so there's a lot of dew around, which means that they probably get quite damp lying in the grass. And the road surface itself is probably nice and cool. There's still a residual moisture that's coming out of the ground, which probably means the road surface is fairly cool and it's not the worst place to be able to lie. Again, it's also out of the way of things like ticks and parasites as well. Right, well, our lions are very sleepy, so we're going to give it a little while longer before we maybe decide to carry on with the wild dog tracking. But while we sit and contemplate our movements, let's send you back across to Ali, who I believe is looking at tracks in the road.
We are looking at tracks on the road. We're looking at the tracks on the road of perhaps a missing lion that's not with the rest of them. Now, I wanted to stop at this track because it seems like there's been a turn in events in the tracks that we were looking at, and just like earlier, the tracks of the white-tailed mongoose were on top of the lion. Now you can see that the tracks of the lions have swapped around and now they're on top of the elephant track. Now it's a very cool track, so I'm just going to outline it for everyone to see because it also gives you an idea of the size difference between the tracks of these two animals, which are potentially the two biggest ones. So this round one, this is the elephant, and this little dent here just indicates that he was walking in that direction. Now we can see the track of the male lion here. One here, one here, one here, and one here. So it just gives you, and this is not for a very big elephant, I must say. So it just gives a proportional idea of how big they are and compared to one another. Now, both creatures have been going this way, but we can tell that the tracks of the lions are on top of the elephants, and it seemed like earlier on the elephants were on top of the lion. So I think what happened was the lion went to sleep for a little while, or he veered off the road, and then the elephants carried on walking down the road. So we're going to do the same, but instead of walking, we're going to go driving. See if maybe we can find the missing cat. Maybe this cat will lead us to the wild dogs, as we haven't seen any tracks, but who knows? Seems like predators like bumping into one another every now and again. But it was a very cool little track, so it's always good to stop and see them. And I, for one, enjoy the fact that the lion was inside of the elephant track. Now we're going to go down this road, and we're not too far from Treehouse Dam, so who knows, maybe the lion decided to go down there. Perhaps it decided that it was going to try and meet with the rest of the girls and got tired in the process, or got distracted and veered off. So it's interesting because we know where the rest of the pride is, but we don't know where this one has gone or where he's headed. So I think we're going to explore those possibilities for a little while, see if we can find him, see what mane it holds. And now we've got lots of elephant tracks on the road that have pretty much erased everything from view. But we shall carry on trying, and hopefully we'll get lucky as well. And if not with lions, well, I'm hoping that the wild dogs will find us. Hee hee hee. There we go. Got a bunch of tracks in front of us, going forward. Tristan is already enjoying the lion, so let's find out from him, who does he think these tracks belong to?
Well, it'll be interesting to know which male is around. Maybe one of the boys. I know that in Nena and, was it Tinyo? I think Nena and Tinyo. They were seen yesterday on Londolozi somewhere, so maybe it's in Nsuku, maybe? I don't know. Mfumo has been kind of MIA in the north for a while. I mean, we know where he is. It's not that he's missing or that he's gone somewhere else. He's just that he's down on the Mala Mala with a different pride that's got small cubs, so he's spending time in that area. Hello, little one. Are you going to go and try and get a suckle? Yes, that's where I think it's going, positioning itself for suckling time. So, Mfumo's down that way. I suppose Nena or Tinyo could have easily gotten, up this side and up into this section again, but I would imagine maybe that it's in Suku walking and saying, "Oh, girl, what's wrong with you? Why have you got a little limp?" Maybe she's picked up a thorn. It's amazing how many of the cats I've seen in the last few days walking, and then a thorn gets into their foot, and they end up stumbling along until they're able to groom it out. Now, I'm sure this little cub is going to pester this female until it can suckle. The female keeps getting up, and the little cub keeps following. And I want to know from anyone, does anyone know what the sex is of this little cub? Has it been discussed? Have we looked at it? Because I haven't really paid attention to it yet. I want to try and see if we can just find out, is it a little male or a little female? Hopefully it's another female. The more females we get, the better. It just means that our pride grows and grows and grows. Now, there's definitely a situation where some of these individuals look like they got a meal and others didn't. You see those two lions lying there. So the one with the head up, her tummy is bulging a little bit, and the one in front of her is a little bulge. So I wonder if they caught something like an impala. An impala between 12 lions is going to go absolutely nowhere, particularly as these sub-adults are now starting to get much bigger and bulkier. It's going to make life a lot more difficult. Right. Well, while our lions decide whether or not it's time to sleep or if they're actually going to stay lying down like this, let's send you back across to Ali, who's found another very social animal.
We have found many special animals. It seems like there's a whole herd of elephants that's walking around through the bushes, but only one that's actually stopped next to the road where they were initially walking, just for us to admire. Now, I think this is one of the herds that we've been seeing around quarantine the past few days, and it's almost like they've been loving this area, perhaps because there are so many marula trees and they've just got no other reason to go. Hello? Oh, well, was that a rock? Or was that some sort of root that you had in there? Interesting. It took something up. Are you playing with something? It's almost like it's playing soccer. You see how he's going with his trunk? Oh. Or her trunk. Hi, I'm so sorry that I called you a boy. It's making like a loud thump almost when it goes down to the ground. So I don't know if we'd managed to dig up the root of some plant or if it's actually a rock. But I think I'm going to wait for her to move a little bit so we can investigate as to what it is that she was trying to eat. You're a very puzzling girl, aren't you? Now, I have a feeling these lions might have squashed some of our trucks, which is not going to be that easy for us, but I will forgive them because they're pretty creatures. And you're still there. Hello, pretty elephant. Very typical of you underneath a marula tree. I'm surprised no one's ever made a song about an elephant underneath a marula tree. I feel like that should be the best song for the African bush. There's nothing that says summer more than this view that we're looking at, especially with that cloudy and moody sky in the background. She doesn't agree. She's being shy. Right, I am a little bit curious, and I would like to see what it is that she was eating or trying to eat, so let's go and investigate a little bit. I have a feeling that it was a rock. And I can see the lion tracks are still there, which is good. She must have thrown it somewhere around here. Now, I don't really want to get out of the car and start looking around for it, because the elephants are still close by, and obviously I don't want to bother them. But, no, I'm not too sure what it was. I can't see anything around here. Maybe it was a stump even. Definitely cannot see anything around here. Huh. It'll live on as a mystery. Alrighty then. Thank you, elephants. We're gonna head down our way. If you see any lions, please do trumpet for us. And this is where she was digging. It seems like there's a lot of track and sign going on this morning. I think we might be a little bit close. But just in this hole over here, you can see that's where her feet were. And this is where she's been digging right here. So they use their feet and they go like this just to dig up roots and anything else. Now, there are a few rocks around just in that corner over there. So I think maybe she thought that she was actually getting some sort of tuber or the root of something. And she got something similar to that rock. And that's why perhaps she put it in her mouth and then she was like, oh, yuck, no. I like it when we have to put the pieces of the puzzle together. It makes it for the best mornings. I think Byron is bumbling about in his bushwalk, and I don't think he's too far from us, funny enough. So let's head over to him and find out where he's headed.
A hornbill just took off there. Well, we've come into quite a thick area. If you have a look around us now, it's very thick over here, but we heard Franklin's alarm calling. So we just wanted to come and have a look and investigate. Try to see what it was that they were alarm calling at. We think maybe it was that hyena. Not sure. But the alarm calls actually continued. There were some Franklins, we got to them, and then further on there were more Franklins calling. So I don't know. but it's so thick, and I think whatever it was clearly moving away from us. So there's no chance of getting a glimpse of it. But possibly that hyena that just walked through, maybe it's actually trailing the lions. Maybe it could smell the lions and followed them. I'm actually not sure which pride it is that Tristan's got. We saw some tracks coming through. We think it must be the Nkuhumas, I'm assuming. No, it is indeed. Okay, so we just, it's wonderful when you're on a bushwalk and you can piece the puzzle together. So we passed this section of road, we saw tracks coming across, and they came from the west, and that's obviously where we knew the Nkuhuma Pride was yesterday, so lots of flies around. So we thought, okay, well, it must have been them that came back, because the Styx Pride were further south, and they don't usually come up into this area, so that makes sense. So yeah, we're just going to move out of this area now and see what we can find. Oh, a lot of flies at the moment. That's expected. The bush is quite lush and green, a lot of moisture. So there is a lot of flies. All right, well, speaking of the Nkuhuma Pride, let's go back to Tristan now and see if those lions are going to move or if they're going to rest there for the day.
Well, Byron, we've got plenty flies outside too, and the Nkuhuma Pride, they have moved, but all of about 2 meters, which is where they are now lying in thick grass. So I think they're just prepping for a day of rest. They've gone in underneath some bushes as well, some of them, and so it seems as though everybody's just finding their spot for the day. That one's going to have a bit of grass first, though. It's important to have your salad as well as your meat as a cat, and make sure that you keep your digestive system in good shape. But everybody's slowly but surely kind of moving off the road. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a situation where this is where they're going to rest for the day. I don't think they're going absolutely anywhere. The only reason that they maybe moved off the road is because the sun is getting a little brighter, and maybe with the vehicles that are coming in and out, they've just decided it's time just to get up and kind of go and lie under some trees. Maybe it's also better for the flies, I don't know, because the flies this morning are really a pain in the backside. They're literally landing all over us, and when I say flies, I'm not talking about 1 or 2. It feels like there's about 40 or 50 of them buzzing around the car. So I can only imagine how many are buzzing around our lines at the moment. Now I see one is having a good grooming session in front, so while that one's eating grass, the 2 in front are almost getting ready to get up and move. There we go. So that one is up and going to come across and go and lie down probably in a similar position. So it's one of the little sub-adult females, and they are looking really good, these little sub-adults. I mean, they hopefully are going to keep growing and getting bigger. I'm interested to see how this pride goes in terms of, you know, are they going to stay together or are they going to end up splitting up? Because we know with the Mangan Pride, every time there's kind of the lionesses get to over 10, there's a split that takes place, and everybody else goes and kind of lies down goes in their own direction. So the sub-adults or the adults split apart from each other. I wonder if Nkuhuma Pride is going to be different and they're going to stay together as a massive unit of 10 females. That's going to be interesting if they are. Now, it's just one lioness left on the road. She's up and moving now as well. So it's the injured lioness that's getting up. Her injury still is there, but she's looking good. I mean, like I say, if we consider how that was to start, that's really not bad. Danny, when the sub-adults become adults, will they mate with the Birminghams? Possible. It depends on whether the Birminghams are still dominant here at that point. These sub-adults have still got probably 1.5 to 2 years until they're actually going to be sexually mature enough to mate, even maybe a little bit longer. And so that means that the Birminghams have got to still be dominant in 2 years' time in this particular section. While they should be dominant, it's possible that they might not be, and there's other males in this area. But if they are dominant, then yes, they will mate with their own dads, which I know is weird, and it is part of lion society. It happens quite regularly, actually. The worst thing I've ever seen is a female that mated with her own sons to produce offspring, not just once but 3 times, which is a little bit weird. So that's, I suppose, a similar thing, I suppose, mating with your dad. But also the thing is we don't know who of the Birminghams is the actual father of these cubs. They might mate with a different Birmingham who is not the same male, and theoretically might not be the same litter, and therefore the genetic code is okay. So we'll just see how it goes, but hopefully, the Pride lasts and the Birminghams stay, because if the Birminghams aren't around, then those sub-adults are going to have a tough time of it anyway. But there comes Mom with little cub in tow. Cub, are you thirsty, girl? Mom is carrying a bit of a limp as well. Shame, my girl. I think she just wants some peace and quiet, and this little cub just doesn't want to give her any. There we go, straight into suckling. There we go, so that's the roadblock has been removed, and you can see everybody is now sleeping in the grass. I don't think we're going to get much more from these lions, unfortunately. So what I think we're going to do is maybe try and see if we can carry on tracking these wild dogs and see where they went. It might be worth them kind of moving around. We can always come back to the lions a little bit later, but I really think that they're going to be sleeping now and not moving too much at all. Now, while we've been sitting here, we have a little friend that's making a mess of my dashboard, which I'm not very appreciative of, but you can see there's a grasshopper that is on the dashboard there, and it keeps dropping little pellets all over the place. So it's not very nice to go to somebody else's home and poo on them, and this little grasshopper doesn't seem to be too phased by doing so. Now, they've got this is a very cool species. They've got these elongated faces with very short little antennae, quite a cool little eye. You can see it there, that's sort of creamy colored eye, and then these long legs that go out at almost right angles from the body. So they're a very cool species to have, and quite common here. We see them all over the place. For some reason, they really like cars. So we have a situation where you see them on cars a lot. VM the other day had one that just wouldn't leave his camera alone. So even though VM was operating the camera and moving it around, found this little guy would just move around VM's hands and stayed on the camera pretty much the whole drive, which was pretty cool. So there's a lot going on around us besides all the flies. There's a few insects that are out, and actually behind me here is the most epic caterpillar, which I'm going to just try and show you guys quickly because I've just spotted it, and I just want to see if I can get it for you quickly. I don't want to disturb it, because if I disturb it, it's maybe going to move off, and it looks like it might be in a situation where it's going to be pupating. So I just want to quickly get rid of one grass stem, which is going to make Fergus's life a little bit easier. Now, Ferg, I'm going to go forward. Hold on. Just give Fergus some space to work with. There we go, Ferg. Can you see it? So it's a big, hairy, very sort of large caterpillar, but it's on this white foamy substance, and I can't see exactly what that foamy substance is. So the reason I actually spotted it was because of that white foamy substance. So I was wondering if are those eggs that it's busy. What is that? It's not a chrysalis that's formed, because we know that caterpillars, when they form a chrysalis, they'll become part of the chrysalis and then be able to start changing into a moth. Now, this particular caterpillar, absolutely no idea what it turns into. It will turn into a moth of some sort, I think. I might be wrong, but pretty crazy looking fella. It's got pink all over it, browns, and long hairs that I'm pretty sure will irritate your skin if they touch you. So, cool looking fella, but what it's on, I have no idea. There looks like little chambers there almost for eggs, but this caterpillar wouldn't have hatched from that at that size. And like I say, it's not going into a pupa stage where it's going to pupate and change. So I have no idea what it's actually on at the moment. That is very cool to see. But there's definitely little tubes and chambers within that white structure, and it's been put on there. Eddie, you say spider eggs? Could be, but I don't think so. And why would the caterpillar be on there? Josh, there you go, Josh. Nail on the head. Josh, it is a marshmallow. Last night we were doing marshmallow on the fire, and somebody accidentally dropped their marshmallow here in the bush, and so that's why it's here. And there's a caterpillar also feeding off the marshmallow as well.
Isn't marshmallow Brent Smith's nickname?
Marshmallow is Brent Leo Smith's nickname. You're right, Fergus. Well done. Marshmallow King. He is most definitely probably the same, one and the same. But I hope Brent didn't leave that chair, because otherwise Brent sneaked into Djuma without us knowing. But he is known as the Marshmallow King as well, that is for sure. The only reason he's known as the Marshmallow King is because he denies getting stuck, and so the more he denies it, the more we just have to tell him that he is it. And so you all have to remind him that he is the Marshmallow King while he's on leave. We don't want him to forget that because he's on leave, he isn't still He did invent marshmallows, you're right, Kirsty, along with everything else in the world. So Brent Leo Smith definitely invented marshmallows. It was him that invented the first recipe all those years ago. And, of course, we wouldn't be able to tell Brent any differently. He's definitely decided that, he could make a marshmallow before anybody else. No, we're just kidding. But anyway, I think what we're going to do is probably leave these lions to themselves. They really are very, very sleepy. They're sitting down in the grass and kind of grooming each other, but not really doing much, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere. So while we go and think about where we can find these dogs, let's send you back across to Ali and see what her updates are for the morning.
Well, seems like we figured out where the Nkuhumas came from. There are tracks for a whole pride of lions coming from Treehouse Dam onto Philemonskatland, which is where we had those male lion tracks. And we were able to pick up a few spots where whoever it is that it was, this male started scent marking. But then, unfortunately, there are like a million elephant tracks on top of all the lion tracks. And, of course, some elephants around. So I just want to do a loop around, perhaps maybe go check the dams and then come back up and see if we can figure out where this male lion goes off to. Perhaps if Herbie and Byron are feeling quite adventurous, they can go and look around the dip for us. As you can see, we've had many elephants moving around and destroying everything. Let me just try and see if I can get this half a branch out of the way, although probably not be able to. What a big bush willow. I feel like I'm gonna pull a Jamie and then just fall as I push this. Oh, come tree. I'm sorry the elephants killed you. Alrighty, out of the way. Ooh. And now we can head back in and carry on looking for, I'm not sure what, pretty much for anything we can find. We just found a murder scene, or at least where a tree got trampled by elephants, and there's been a lot of them around here, so it could be that we'll bump into some more. But if not, like I said, I just want to do a big loop around and then perhaps head back to the area where we were checking this morning, as I have a feeling that if this lion is not with the Nkuhuma Pride, he's surely somewhere very close to them. I'm pretty sure they met at one point throughout the night, and if they didn't, well, at least they walked pretty much the same road, so they should have known that they were both in the area. Now let's check around here. Maybe we'll be able to catch anything. Now it's funny weather today. It was a lot of rain predicted, and there are a lot of clouds, and you can see a very thick cloud cover in front of us. But it also seems like the sun is managing to shine through. So who knows? Maybe we won't have as much rain as we thought we were going to have. It's very hard to tell. Weather has been so temperamental lately that we don't really know what to expect. So definitely no lions walking down this road, and I also wonder where the sticks ended up going to. Maybe we should go trying to find out what these tracks are. Is country, okay. No lion tracks here. So many things. Alright, I'm gonna carry on being puzzled by all the tracks and just carry on looking for animals. But while I do that, let's head back to Byron and find out where he's headed.
Well, at the moment I'm headed towards Impala Plains. Now, yesterday we were very fortunate. We had that wild dog pack. They ran. Now, I know Tristan is trying to find out where they are and track them. But I don't know which direction they would have gone. I've got a feeling they went north. I've got a feeling they would have headed towards Buffelshoek, because that's the direction they came. So they came through here. We followed them past here yesterday, and then they went onto that clearing just off the Vuatela access. And I think possibly early this morning they would have got up already and started to hunt and look for some food. I'm trying to see if we can't find interesting little insects. Oh, sorry, some flies. Tristan was saying something that he thinks maybe they killed it sounded like a bird, or he found feathers that all over Gallagher, and he says maybe those wild dogs headed past Gallagher. So that's possible. Yeah, maybe maybe that way and then north. So they may have just missed the lions. Maybe the lions got there, because I know the lions were just off Gallagher shortcut. So it's interesting. So I don't know what happened last night. This weather is temperamental, as Ali was saying. It was really hot and humid, and now there's a bit of a breeze picking up, which is wonderful. It's cooling it down slightly. I'm trying to see if there any interesting little tracks we can show you. I did see some genet tracks earlier, tiny little genet tracks, which is wonderful. There's a beautiful flower. Now I know a lot of you, and a hairy caterpillar. Now you see, stop and look at the flowers and you'll see other interesting creatures. Now this beautiful flower, can I turn it for you? It's got a few spines on it. Can you see it there, Voldy? Nicely, there we go. Now this is called a poison apple. That's what this flower is, poison apple. And then, sorry, I'm going to let go of it quickly. And down here is this hairy caterpillar. Now that is something you really don't want on you. And you got him there? Because these little hairy caterpillars cause such an irritation. Those little hairs, fine hairs, if they get on your skin, you get a really bad reaction and you start breaking out in, I've seen some people break out in little hives. They get very, very itchy. Insanely itchy. It was.
Senzo about that.
Senzo had it.
On his bed the other night.
Oh no, Senzo apparently had one in his bed the other night. Oh, that's the worst. I've seen a guide, one of my friends actually, stop his game drive because he drove through. I think he was driving off road and brushed past a tree, and there were a few of these hairy caterpillars on. And they fell down his back. And he literally stopped and he told his tracker that he was working with, please take the vehicle. And he literally ran through the riverbed back to camp and jumped in the pool and stayed in the pool to try and get the itch off of him. But he was red all over his back. It was terrible. So you've got to watch out for those little hairy caterpillars. Andrew, you asked about fire ants. And are there fire ants here? We've got species of red ants, but I don't think they're similar to the fire ants that you know back home. I think the fire ants, they're nasty. They bite you, they'll cover you, and I think you can also break out in like a bit of a rash from them, and it's very, very painful. Now, I don't know of a species of fire ant down here, but we have got red ants, and we've got many different species of ants. There are a lot of different species of ants, but I don't think that we've got the same fire ants like you have back home. I'm also thinking, aren't there a lot of fire ants in South America, if I'm not mistaken? But I'm not sure. There's some Franklin's alarm calling again. Now I wonder if maybe they're just alarm calling at us. I'm going to keep having a look here. Oh wow, have a look at all these beautiful mushrooms. Blue Cozy, you asked if we've got many types of praying mantis in the area. We do. We've got a lot of mantid species throughout this area. Wow, this is fascinating. Have a look here. Some beautiful mushrooms. And there's quite a few. If I look around, it looks like little stalks of mushrooms everywhere. Have a look at that. This is putting me in the mood for some fried mushrooms with breakfast this morning. And Tristan also loves mushrooms, apparently. Or does he not? No, he doesn't. VM being sarcastic there. We'll take some mushrooms back for Tristan. But you see, these ones with the tall stalks, and then there's also little mushrooms growing. There's a nice little one over here. Another little fungi mushroom. Look at that. Beautiful. Now, I'm always very, very careful of mushrooms in the wild because there are some species that you can eat, but there are many that you can't. So be very, very careful with mushrooms, especially out here. I don't know which ones you are able to eat. I think the big ones are ones that you're able to chop up and eat, but I'm not sure. Like these little ones, I wouldn't take a chance. I would not take a chance at all unless I had a real expert with me telling me which mushrooms we can eat and can't eat, and they'd have to be cooked really nicely. So from these fungi, let's go to another fun guy, Tristan, and find out why he doesn't like mushrooms.
Byron the joke book Sorrel. Is that what we should call him nowadays? Byron, you and your fun guy joke. I think I've heard Byron say that and link to me like that a few times. So we'll have to ask him to get us some new ones and some more comic relief for us. But anyway, at least there's a bit of lightheartedness this morning. I can tell you what there is actually a beautiful, beautiful morning. Is that the sun is up and shining, and there's this kind of big storm cloud behind us. So it's really pretty as we kind of going along. There you go. Fergus is doing a nice pan. Well done, Fergus. There's the storm cloud coming in. So apparently we were supposed to get a major amount of rain today. That's what we're told. Whether or not we're going to get it is anyone's guess. It certainly looks like it by the background. What's that, sorry, Fergus? Major rain. Is there something... military joke. Okay. It's just jokes flying around all over the place today. Along with Brent Leo Smith inventing everything. Jokes... It's all happening today. So anyway, right, so we've left the lions, which might have been a premature call, and I'll tell you why. Because I thought we'll go and try and look for the wild dogs, and well, wild dogs have crossed into Manyeleti, so that's not going to go very well for us. Our search has been extinguished before it's even started. But I would like to know where Ali is, because if Ali is down towards the south, there's a chance or a report of our old boy Tingana being around Chitwa. So if Ali wants to head that way, if she's around that side of the world, might be worth her heading there. Kirst, if you can give her an update. I just got an update on the radio. I don't know if she heard it because I didn't hear her respond, but there is Tingana down on Chitwa, apparently around the Mulawanini. So I've thoroughly abused Chitwa in the last few days. I think I've been on Chitwa probably every drive for the last 8 or 9. And so I think it's time to let somebody else go all the way down to Chitwa, as well as a leopard. I know Ali, I'm sure, would love to catch up with Tingana, so she can head in that way. I think I'm going to go and try and find Tundi. That's what I'm going to try and do. I have this feeling that Tundi is around today, so I'm going to go and scratch around in that eastern block and around the Mulawati and see if I can find some sort of sign of Tundi moving about. I think she's here. And I've also got a Hosana feeling for today. Not this morning though. I think this afternoon there's going to be a Hosana sighting somewhere, and so hopefully it'll be on our side. So that's what I feel like, and we're going to go and try and see if we can find either one of those individuals while Ali goes off to Tingana if she wants to head there. If she doesn't, well, we'll head in that direction as well. Now there's somebody's bits of car that's lying on the road there, so I'm just going to quickly grab these because we don't want to leave any plastics and things lying around. It's not the way we do things here. So just rolling back a little bit. Cool, that should be far enough. Right, now I'm going to quickly just grab this bit of car that's come off. Somebody obviously was driving and hit something. But anyway, we'll try and get that. And while we do that, let's send you off to Byron, who I'm sure is praying that he's not going to get very wet with this big storm cloud coming his way.
Well, I hope it doesn't rain while we're out. As soon as we get back, then it can pour down as much as it wants. Have a look at this. Now, this is a very active part of the termite mound, but there is an ant that has managed to, was trying to catch this termite. Look at that. That is amazing. And this ant is really having a go at the termites. I'm surprised there aren't any soldier termites coming out to protect it. But the termite seems to be holding on and putting up a really good fight. That ant is just too powerful. Do you see that? Lifted it up. That's amazing. No, it probably doesn't want to go back into the termite burrow because will be a lot more termites in there. There are a few. I can see they're coming out, possibly going to try and close up this hole. That's very, very interesting. So it just shows you how some species of ants will actually feed on some of the termites too. But like I said, I'm very surprised there aren't soldier termites that are out here to protect it, because the soldier termite is much bigger. They've got huge pincers and would most likely be able to protect the colony from these ants. Sorry, Cursed Mallory asked, does who have muscles? Oh, do insects have muscles? Well, I'm sure, Mallory, that's a good question. I don't know. I actually don't know, Mallory. I'm not sure. I'm not too clued up on the intricacies of the anatomy of insects. I would assume that they must have certain muscles in parts of their body. It would make sense. There are parts of the body that need to move certain ways. I would assume there is a type of muscle that they have, especially in some of the bigger insects. But I don't know, Mallory. I'm not sure to what extent muscles, or is it little tendons, or what it is. I really am not sure. That's a good question, Mallory. Very good question. So apparently, Kirst was just telling me she read up, or somebody sent in, that insects have striated muscles. So those are, if I'm not mistaken, striated muscles are muscles that are basically layered. So or tendons that fit together, or the muscle strands fit together. That's what it is, strands of muscle. So apparently they've got striated muscles, but I don't know. It's an interesting question, Mallory. I enjoyed that. I really don't know. It's funny. You never think about things like that. Well, how do insects work, and do they have muscles? It's very interesting. You see, often, that's why I say, often being out here, we also still constantly learn interesting little things that we've never thought of. You don't often go and speak about insect muscles while on safari. I'm grateful, Dad, you sent that through with the striated muscles. Thank you very much. I'm definitely going to try to read up more about that when we get back to camp and see what I can find out. But it is fascinating. That was a nice little segment, all the mushrooms and that interesting ant with the termite. That really was amazing. Well, it sounds like Ali might have some luck with the leopard. Let's go and find out what her plan is.
Well, it seems like our good old friend Tingana has been found again this morning closer to Chitwa, so we're slowly making our way over there just to see if perhaps we can keep up with him, see what he's looking like, hopefully a little bit fuller. He was in need of a meal. Now, very interesting update from Chitwa is that on Little Gowrie, the sticks are there, but there is an unknown male with the sticks. Now, it seems like they might have killed something as well, that they might be on a kill, just from what I'm getting on the radio. And the tracks that we were following of the male lion at one point on the cut line, it seemed like there were faint traces of blood. So I wonder if perhaps it's not one of the lions we already know that had an altercation with somebody else that we already also know, or if it's indeed a new male lion entirely. It'll be interesting to be able to get a view of the photos a little bit later and find out what's actually been happening, because it seems like we're in for a whirlwind season this summer, or the end of this summer, as many changes have happened both in the lion and the leopard population. So I'll that's all I've gotten from the radio, but it's quite interesting news. I'm sure we'll be able to find out later exactly what's been going. We're slowly heading down towards Tingana, see what he's up to, because the sticks are unfortunately just outside of the area that we are allowed to drive in. But I'm not too worried. I know we will get an update in due time. Ooh. Alright, let's head down here. We're getting closer to the area and see who else have been going around here while we take our time to get to Tingana. Now it's interesting. Alright, seems like maybe the rain has hit the Djuma side. Luckily, no rain just yet on our side. I'm hoping that the weather will stay clear, at least for a little while. Although it's not looking promising. It just says that the whole day we've got varying degrees of rain, from 30% to probably 90% chance of rain. But we'll see. I'm not too worried about it just yet. At least we're dry for now. Hello, all of the Impala in the world. How are you guys doing? Now, they're not that far from where Tingana is. Tingana is apparently in the Molowanini, and these guys are just on the driveway. So maybe if he carries on coming this way, maybe he'll get them. And I know Tristan was mentioning earlier on that the flies today are really, really ridiculous. But you can see also they're annoying us. Senzo and I also, we've been driving around just like, oh, no, too many flies. But look at all of the Impala's tails. They're all going crazy as well. All of them moving around. So I think the flies are annoying everyone, just all together. Yeah, we can feel you. And also we can feel a few drops of rain too. Now I'm hoping this is not going to be more than a drizzle. Here's to positive thinking. We're going to stay clear of some heavy rain for the time being. Right, little guys. Good luck in surviving today. Hopefully you won't get too wet. Hopefully we won't get that wet. We can just carry on going. Hello, starling. That's just flying away. There we go. There's a Burchell starling. Just enjoying the cool weather, I'm sure. The birds yesterday were also quite hot. The few ones that we came across were either in the shade or were also opening their mouths just to try and get as much heat out of their system as possible. Hello, noisy bird. There's two of them, but I'm not too sure where the second one is. Oh, you see here to the left, Senzo, there's a hornbill and a starling. I think we didn't get them before. Hi, guys. Beautiful calls. More a bit of a shrieking than a call. We'll give you that one. You guys need to work at it. Chitty chat, do you think that the fly activity and how they're being is somehow related to the weather conditions that we are experiencing? I'm pretty sure they're getting excited because it's been very humid, it's been very hot, so I wouldn't be surprised that they've just been moving around more, and now that the rain's settling in, they're like, woohoo, party time. But yes, I am pretty sure that it's related to the weather conditions that we are experiencing. Now, I'm going to just focus on this side of the sky where there is a little bit of sunshine coming through, and that's the direction we're going to head into. Because if I look behind me, I might actually get very scared. So I'm going to go away from it. Alright, weather, just hold for a little while. I see faint traces of blue in the sky. Just want to find out if this open area is open. Can anyone please tell me if the open area of Chitwa is open? Ooh, my radios are getting tangled. Feel like perhaps nobody can copy me on the radio. Alright, well, they haven't replied, so I think everything should be fine. I just gotta ask in the mornings, because sometimes guests stay asleep and they don't come out on safari. So obviously the last thing that they want is a vehicle in front of their room ruining their view. So I suppose it's just only a courtesy to find out that we don't bump into anyone that's perhaps having a very late start of their day. Now, here we go, going down. And I'm hoping, who knows, maybe Thandi will be around. That'll be nice. I'm yet to see or have a proper look of that little cub of hers. It seems to be such a funny thing. So I'm hoping that she'll might be or pop out somewhere today or in the next few days so that I can actually properly meet this little one. I've only had a glimpse of it, and it seems like with Hukumuri moving in and Tingana being a little bit on the sick side and so many different female leopards with cubs around, Tandi's just decided to move into areas where she might feel she's a little bit safer. And I think Chitwa was or has been her stomping ground for the greatest part of her life almost. So I'm sure she knows all the hideaways, all the spots where she can take her cub to safety, and it's probably the reason why she hasn't been on Djuma as much. Hello, pretty water buck. All the babies. Okay, let's just try and go a little bit forward. Oh, I thought there might have been a baby inside of the water. It was looking very funny. Now we've got a creche of water buck here, and they are by far the fluffiest antelope that we get here. They are just so pretty, and they're all lying still out in the open. I think you guys are probably enjoying the cooler weather, aren't you? While we're scared, you guys are loving it. Such fluffy, pretty things. Also, you can see their ears, their tails going. I can also feel the flies starting to settle in upon us now as well, as we don't have the breeze coming our way anymore. Oh, that's a very beautiful view. And I think that little one actually wants to suckle, but the mom was like, no, I'm still asleep, so you're not getting any milk. The struggle is real. I don't think you're getting the idea that your mom's really not happy to stand up. Maybe it's found a way to suckle. Well, that's a very persistent little one. Or maybe not. Maybe that's just not working. Mom is still a little bit asleep, so I don't think you're gonna have to work a little bit harder. And I've never seen antelope suckling lying down, like perhaps not elephants, lions and leopards do. So I reckon for it to be able to actually get some milk, the mom would have to stand up. But unfortunately, that seems to be the wrong mom. I wonder where your little one is. Because it seems two adult females and 7 youngsters. So there are probably more females around. These are just the two that have been left behind as babysitters, taking turns and looking after the young ones. And then I'm sure the other mothers will come around and then take their turn and then pretty much just start looking after them. It's a lot easier when you've gotten lots of different species of antelope that are a little bit more gregarious do this. Generally, the young ones tend to suckle for about, I would say, 7 months or so, 7 to 9 months in all of the different antelope species. And a lot of the times the mothers synchronize their birth with the rainy season, so that they are born during the time that there's more grass around, and therefore they can eat more and produce more milk and raise them quickly. If you can imagine, in the winter time it's a little bit harder to find as much food, so it gets a little bit more complicated to try and raise the little ones. Oh, you're very cute. Now the little one that was trying to suckle, his mom is now up, so I wonder if he's going to try or if they're still too curious looking at us. And you're not that young. I'm not too sure you should still be suckling. Look at that pretty face with her little hardy noses. You still, as the leopard cubs and as Tamba, you've got to grow into your ears almost. That's a very pretty fluffy thing. Alrighty, I think we are going to move on from this particular spot and perhaps even start putting on some of our rain covers, as it's getting a little bit wet over here. So while we do that and try to protect all of our equipment, let's head back to Byron. Alright, sorry guys, I'm just going to fight with these rain covers for a second. It's not the easiest bag, just so that we can put some of our rain covers on to protect the cameras and so on. As you can imagine, we don't want anything damaged, and our little waterbug friends have decided to move across. Now let's put this on. It's only going to take 1 second. And then that way we'll be done. At least for now. And then we'll ensure that we can do many more safaris with Wendy. I'm about to fall now. Alright. Affirmative, I'm on standby 1. Sorry guys, I'm trying to pay attention to the radio and find out if we can head towards Tingana, but in the meantime, let's head back to Byron.
Well, I'm hoping this rain holds off at the moment. I don't know, it's drizzling a bit. Hopefully Ali also gets a chance to see Tingana. I'm sorry, we just seem to have a quick audio break up there. So all I asked for was that the rain waited till we finished bushwalk. It seems fine though, it seems fine. There are just some really dark clouds coming behind us that I'm a little bit worried about. Let's see. I'm just going to have a look at some of these trees here, because there's often interesting little insects all over. Well, this is a guarri tree. Just flowers, obviously. We did spot a beautiful little flower mantid earlier. And then it started to rain. We had to put our covers on. So, but we'll have a look for others. There are plenty. You've got to look so carefully. Really, really carefully for those little insects. Just scanning the grass. Also looking for tracks, signs of animals. There's, excuse me. Sorry. There's a lot of little signs that you can look out for on a bushwalk. I mean, there are many different insect species, different plants. We've seen a lot of those beautiful poison apple flowers, that beautiful purple. We've seen some devil's thorn, those pink flowers, and we've seen the blue flowers of the blue commelina. A lot of wild hibiscus, that bright yellow. A lot of flowers around at the moment. I was mentioning this yesterday. I'm missing those lion's eye, those beautiful red flowers, bright red flowers. I haven't seen any of those. Not sure why they aren't flowering anymore. Probably finished flowering for the season. Let's see if there are any animals around here too. So you've got to constantly be aware of everything. I was saying to Herbie that I can't remember when last I saw a buffalo on foot, and now there have been buffalo around, so we are cautious, always keeping an eye out for buffalo, but nothing yet. Now, Jamie, you wanted to know how long it takes for a termite mound to get that big. Well, some of them hundreds of years, Jamie. Some of them constantly just keep getting used. If you look at, the massive termite mounds, that would take easily a few hundred years for those big termite mounds. But they do build fairly quickly, the termites. But if you look at, that little one that we stopped at, that little start of a new chimney, I suppose you could call it, new branch off their termite mound, that they've probably built in a few weeks. So that little section, but those huge termite mounds, you can imagine how long it takes a colony of termites to build that. And that'll, year after year, constantly adding bits and pieces and building. So hundreds of years. See if there are any little interesting creepy crawlies around here. I'm trying to see if I can find another little flower mantid, perhaps. Nothing around here, but it looks like there's a whole little ecosystem going on. I'm sure there's a lot of insects within this section of brush, because it's nice and thick. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of insects living in here, but maybe the weather could affect them. It's now, the temperatures drop slightly. There's a cool breeze, which I'm very thankful for, and the possibility of rain. Alright, well, let's carry on. Let's see, now we're just making our way through this clearing. Scanning, sorry, I thought I saw a cuckoo fly. We've seen quite a few cuckoos, Jacobin and Levalens. Haven't seen any of the other cuckoo species. I think most of them have left already. It's always nice to see those cuckoos. I had a wonderful sighting of a cuckoo, the dark form of the Jacobin cuckoo, which was really interesting. I've never seen it before. Raffaele asked if we've got olive trees in the area. And I'm trying. There is a wild olive, but I don't think we get it in this area. I need to have a look again. I'm trying to think. Wild olive. I'm sure there is, but I don't think we get it in this area. I don't know if Tristan's maybe seen. I mean, Tristan's worked in this area for quite a few years. Maybe he knows if there any around. So we can possibly ask him. I mean, he's worked all over here. I think he's worked in Chitwa. He's worked at Simbambili. So maybe we can ask him. Now, I think Tristan's still busy putting his roof on. It looks like, I don't know, I'm hoping this rain just holds off a little bit for us. Just until we finish drive. Or walk at least. I'm just scanning here again. This is one of my favorite trees, but this is a small one. This is interesting. Now, some of you, I'm not sure if you would be able to recognize this, but this is a young leadwood, Combretum imberba. That's what this tree is. It's my favorite tree. I do love seeing the Combretums around, or these leadwoods at least, those beautiful leadwoods. Some of them can also live to 800, 1,000 years old. And then even after they die, they stay standing for 50 to 80 years. Incredibly strong, solid tree. Now, having a look just at this terminalia over here, a lot of ants all over the leaves. Let's see if we can get some there. Look at that. A lot of ants up on the silver cluster leaf. Now, they might also be getting quite active because of the weather changing. But have a look at these ants, completely different to the other species of ant we saw earlier. And like I say, there are many different species of ants out here. I don't know all of them. They're just too many. Too many. I suppose if you take time and you go through, you can actually get an ant book and go through each species of ant and you can learn. But, I think if you're guiding guests regularly, being out and going through every little species of ant, it's interesting to see the ants you see quite regularly, like those Polyrhynchus and that type of thing. It's interesting because you can eat them. They've got that lemon drop taste. But going through every different species, you might just lose your guests if you take too long with that. All right. Well, it sounds like Tristan has got his roof on. Let's ask him about that wild olive, if he's seen any in this area, and see what his plan is now with the roof on.
Byron, no, I don't think I have seen a wild olive here at all. I'm trying to think. No, I don't think so. So I haven't seen one personally, which is not a surprise, given that there's a lot of space to look for things, and there's a lot of trees that grow in amongst others, and you sometimes can just miss a tree altogether. But I haven't seen one, to be honest, and so I don't know if we do get them here. Brent would also be a good one to ask, and Steph, given that Steph has covered most of this place on foot, he would know if there's wild olives here. I'll have to go and ask him or Brent and just find out if they know of any. And then my plan is still to go follow up on Thandi and just try and check in those areas for her, in case she's around. I want to know how that little cub is doing. We've got serious withdrawal symptoms lately, and so I'm hoping that we can find the cub with her and have a really cool sighting. So that's the idea anyway. Hopefully it will all work out in the end. But which way are we going to go is the next question. I think maybe we should go maybe central. Let's go central Drakensberg. And we'll check Batalia, we'll check Mamba, we'll check Leadwood. We'll just do all of those roads in the hope that we find her somewhere in that general vicinity. Now, of course, we've put on our roof and we've put on all the rain covers and it stopped raining. It's how things go. It's because you prep for it and you are diligent about coming and getting the things you need to stop the rain now won't come. I'll have a situation where I'll spend all of my time just waiting. Now, Fergus, straight across from us is a tree with what looks like a butterfly that is flying about around it, feeding on the flowers of this tree. There they are. There's two of them. Are they both monarchs? They might both be monarchs. The one didn't look like a monarch. The one looked maybe a little bit different. So it's the acacia that is flowering, but I was hoping that there was... There it is there. So there's a diurnal moth, which is very, very cool. So that is not a butterfly, it is a moth, and it is called a superb false tiger moth. And they are fairly common in this area. We do see them regularly, and particularly if you find bushes like this where there's flowering plants, you'll find those superb false tigers all over the place. So I think it's just drifting around in the background. It's not making it very easy for Ferg, but there you can see it just moving over there. So it gets its name false tiger because of the black and orange on the wings and black and yellow colors, but very cool to see, and you can see it feeding off of the flowers. How cool is that? Awesome. So we get all kinds of different things out here, but like I say, most moths nocturnal, but that is one of our diurnal ones, which is very, very cool to see. I haven't seen one in a while. Nice. That maybe is going to be a good omen for the rest of our drive. Kristen knows nobody's seen Tundi since Byron saw Tundi during the heavy rain, which is really not a surprise at all. And the reason why I say it's not a surprise is because Tundi can be elusive at the best of times, and she can be a tough character to find. And after rain, it becomes really difficult to see her tracks. She's also a supremely good hunter, and so she would have made use of that rain and tried to hunt as well as she could, and probably is sitting on a kill somewhere. And because of the rain, her tracks have been washed, and you can see a whole bunch of impalas that are running around from one side of the dam to the other. There's nothing chasing them, they're just having a bit of fun. It's cool weather after all, and it's a nice little downhill, so it's the best way to kind of run is just with the hill and go bolting across and to the other side. You can see once they all get to the other side, none of them are too perturbed, and there's no alarm calling or anything like that. Everybody's just having a little bit of fun and playtime. Here comes more of them. Now, if the dog tracks didn't go into Manuletia, I might be hesitant and think maybe dogs are chasing them, but none of them are stotting, so none of them are showing any signs of kicking their back legs, which is what they do when they're being chased by wild dogs, is they'll often do that to show that they are fit and healthy individuals. But I wonder though, they're all running. I wonder where Byron and them are, if they're not maybe running from our bushwalk team. There's a lot of them coming from very far. They're not exactly running from close. So interesting, but they don't look too perturbed. I mean, it's not like they are too worried. They've reached the other side and all of them are just kind of stopping and feeding. So I think we're in a situation where it's just more a case of exuberance in cool weather. There is also a nice bird that is floating about in what is probably the most impressive Gowrie Dam water amount that I've seen in a very long time. So on the left backside there, Fergus, it's quite difficult to see it. In those grassy areas, there is a knob-billed duck that is busy sort of floating in and out. It's quite difficult to see it, but there it is, a female knob-billed duck, busy filter feeding. You can tell it's got those kind of blue-green wings and that mottled head, so it's very typical of the knob-billed duck. Now, they were called a comb duck at one point, and they were then changed back to knob-billed duck because there's a comb duck apparently in South America. So they jumped the gun a bit and changed the name for no good reason, and they've now had to reverse that name change and go back. But you can see how it's just kind of wading through that marshy section, looking around for all kinds of food items that it can go for. Very cool little birds. I like the knob-billed ducks, particularly the male's got this massive, big sort of growth on his beak and looks very interesting and very weird. But they are very pretty. When the sun's out, you'll see their wings shimmer, this emerald green, blue color. It's very cool to see. Right, shall we carry on, Fergus? We've got a date with Tundi that we can't be late for. She's going to be waiting for us, and so we don't want to be late for her, otherwise she will not come out again for some time. So while we try and go and find Tundi, let's send you back across to Byron, who I believe is getting down and dirty with some poop.
Well, yeah, Tristan, we are. There's fresh elephant dung over here, but I wanted to show you just how coarse this dung is. It's quite interesting, and obviously all the marula fruit. Now, a lot of you have asked before, do the elephant chew the fruit? If you have a look here, you can see this fruit has definitely been chewed a bit. Some of the fruit they do swallow, but that has been chewed completely, so they definitely enjoyed it. There's a little seed, so that's just the seed over there. That's been stripped clean. The tongue is still very moist, so this is quite recent, maybe early this morning. And Ellie walked through here. A lot of plant material in here too. You can see some grass, there's some twigs, so a lot of plant material in here, but obviously a lot of marula fruits at the moment. Now, there are a few other signs that I want to point out, which I just think are quite interesting. So over here, if you look where the dung is, look at this little dark patch of soil over here. So that is where the elephant stood and urinated. So this elephant stood here, is feeding on marula fruit, dropped dung, and then urinated, and that's this dark patch of soil around here. And then there's something else that VM also spotted, which is quite interesting. It's just, if you have a look here, it looks like a drag mark along the ground. Now, what this is actually from is also the elephant, but what it did was, and if we move through here, I think we'll find the evidence. This elephant probably tried to reach somewhere, break off a plant or a branch, and here it is. So this elephant, I'm now holding a branch which was in the mouth of the elephant. Now, let me show you. So this elephant probably walked, let me show you what he did. Have a look here. So he broke this branch off one of these trees. Here we go. I think one of these back here. Broke the branch off, walked through, had this in his mouth. He was stripping the bark off, but you see this part of the branch was hanging down while he was feeding. So as he walked, see, that's the drag mark that he left with the branch. And then he walked through here and he dropped the branch. So these are the little signs that I've been speaking about the whole time. Very interesting. You can tell the whole story. What happened with this elephant, what he did. There may even have been two elephants here, because there's dung going that way and this branch coming from there and going here, maybe even more. But it's amazing to see how they've stripped the bark off of this branch. Look at that. Very, very fascinating. Snazzy, do elephant eat mushrooms? Look, Snazzy, I wouldn't be surprised if they occasionally pick up a mushroom now and then accidentally when they're feeding on all this vegetation. I don't know if they particularly go out and look for mushrooms. I've never seen an elephant looking for mushrooms. But you can imagine walking around where the mushrooms are growing. They put their trunk in the grass, pull up some grass and feed on it. Chances of picking up a mushroom are pretty good. So, yeah, I'm sure they do eat the odd mushroom, but I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just from picking up a lot of vegetation to feed on. A few more drops coming at the moment. Wonder if this rain is going to hold off. All right, well, let's go across to Ali. I wonder if she's got any sign of that leopard she was going to try and see. Let's find out.
Right, it seems like the gremlins had a full-on attack when we got to Tingana, so we couldn't really show you guys from there, but I took a picture just to show you it. He's in a very, very tricky spot. It's not really easy. This is all we got to see of him. So we can just somewhat see him through the bushes. He's underneath a very thick bush, and it's not a spot where we can drive around because he's very close to the Molowanini. So in a dip of a drainage line, not easy to see him, but he is breathing. Hard to comment on his condition because we couldn't really see him. He is, though, fast asleep, having probably a very good morning in this rainy weather, and is not really bothered by the rest of the world. So I think maybe we're going to try head back there a little while later, see if we get any luck with him. Maybe he'll decide to get up, although he didn't even raise his head when we arrived. He's just completely asleep. Now, I do want to check behind the dam wall of Chitwa, see if perhaps maybe Tandi is somewhere around there, even Kuchava. Who knows? I'm just putting it out there for all the other leopards that might be in this area to just appear. And the rain is funny. It's coming in little drizzling bouts where we think we're going to get drenched, and then all of a sudden it goes away. So I'm not too sure what's going to happen with the rain. But if it carries on raining or drizzling like this, I'm pretty sure that Tingana's going to go nowhere. He's got the sweetest spot. He's not too far from water. He's got a nice shelter. He's hiding perfectly well. And I'm actually not sure how they found him. It's the only way that they could have actually found him is by following his tracks, because there's no way that anybody could have just been like, oh, there's a leopard there. I'm sure that was not the case. Now we're heading back down to the Chitwa Dam area. Hopefully we'll won't have to fight any gremlins in this time around. And we're just going to carry on going down. Now, lots of lion tracks around this area for male lions coming from the east. So I wonder if perhaps that unknown male, if it came from the east, if it came from Malamala, or if it maybe came all the way from Kruger. The guys on the radio are definitely, or seem puzzled by it as to who it could be. But I'm sure we will have some sort of photographic update later on by someone. And then we'll be able to keep everyone up to date as to what's exactly happening. Now, let's take 2 for the water bucks. Let's head back down. And every time I come to this open area, I'm hoping that I'm going to see a serval or a wildcat. Tristan is following certain tracks, so let's head back to him and find out who he's tracking.
Well, we have found tracks on Central, but I'm not sure who these are for. It looks like a young male leopard that's walked here, so I wonder... I have no idea. I wonder if these are Tumba's tracks from yesterday, but they look on top of the rain that we had during the course of the night, and even now, so they look very fresh. I have no idea who they are or which leopard it could be. Maybe Hosana's come back to visit. It could also be from where Tumba walked, because Tumba did come from Chitwa side, and these tracks are on Central going towards the dam, so it could have been him, I suppose. I don't know. We're going to have to try and track and see what we can find. The problem is the road here is so hard. It's going to be very difficult. In fact, I lost the tracks in 10 meters of trying to walk on this road. They just kind of disappear on the hard surface. But let's go towards Vulture's Nest quickly. Vulture's Nest Junction is right behind me. So I want to just double check that these tracks are not maybe just going down Vulture's Nest. If they go down Vulture's Nest, then they could very well be Hosana's, because Hosana likes this route. He walks on Vulture's Nest every now and then. And we can't rule out Tumba, but they look too small for... They're definitely too small for Tingana, and too small for Hukamuri Just, I think. It's difficult to say. Now, the road here is so hard. It is really not easy to see any track whatsoever. I'm just double checking on this road. I think let's take Vulture's Nest anyway and see. I mean, if it comes out on Vulture's Nest, then we will know that in all likelihood it is not Tumba. It could be Tumba though. They look like they're on top of the rain, but the road's so hard and grainy that it's quite tough just to get an actual kind of freshness. The tracks are not crispy in any way. They're nice and soft, and the edges are nice and soft and clean, which is what you would expect from a track from this morning. So I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, our leopard is here somewhere. The problem is this road here is like concrete. So it's going to be tough to find anything on this road. Hopefully, if this leopard walked here, it just kept going towards the Mulawati, and I'll pick it up that side. But while I try and look here and see if I can sort of ascertain which way these tracks go, let's send you back across to Ali, and she's at one of my favorite spots on the reserve.
We are. We've come down now to Chitwa Dam just to see what's happening here. And as usual, there's a lot of life going on. But it gives you an idea of how gloomy today is. Or the sun is trying to break through and it's looking stunning just in the distance. But it's still not quite there yet. It almost seems like an interesting twist of events, because we've had the biggest clouds coming from the southeast in the last few days, and now it seems like the sun is wanting to push through there. So I am hoping this is the end of a rainy period that's lasted about a week or so. Not that we don't need the rain, but would also be nice to have some sunshine for the next few days. A very, very thick cloud cover, and well, it seems like everything's just going to help Chitwa Dam become a little bit fuller. We've got a massive herd of impala right in front of us. They've been coming down on the dam wall and they're just jumping all around here. Look at them, so many. Definitely a good spot, and I'm sure they were sleeping not too far from here, probably in the open area that's close to the Chitwa airstrip. Maybe that's the way that they've come, and now they're starting to approach the dam to have a bit of a drink. Oh, there's two rams at the back there that are having a bit of a fight. I think it's interesting. I wonder if they're gonna start rutting earlier this year. I've already seen two rams properly fighting and going at each other. I think Tristan had them a few days as well. So I wonder if maybe they're not going to start their nonsense a little bit sooner this year. Hi guys, have you seen a leopard? We're looking for two. Doesn't seem like they've been around here. Very beautiful views. There we go. Full on fighting now. This is what they're going to be doing for the next few months. All the impala rams, they're going to fight to try and assert their dominance, their hierarchy. Beautiful girl, you are sort of in the way. And they keep pushing each other back and forth just to try to establish who's the bigger one, who's the more powerful one, and that way that particular one might be able to have a better chance at mating with a group of female for about a week at a time until the next one comes in and then he gets kicked out of that particular territory or spot and mate with the females and so on and so on. Desmond, I also like the look of their horns. I think it's beautiful, and the females without their horns but with their black stripe on top of their head almost reminds me of a headband. I always think that impala are wearing headbands. Oh, excuse me. You are a very big boy. Those are some massive horns, and you can tell there's quite a gap in between the two corners.
Have a look what we found over here. Now, come on, little guy. Hang around for us, please. There we go. Just stay here, please. A little frog. Oh, no. It's a little sand frog. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful little sand frog. There he goes. Wonderful. That is tiny. That is very, very small. See if I can just get him out a little bit again. Don't want to disturb him too much. No, he's not interested in being on camera this morning. Beautiful little sand frog, I think. Let's double check which one that was, but I think it is a sand frog. Those black little fat little frogs. They're so cute. They really are awesome. It's just running across the road, but tiny, about that big. Very, very small. That was wonderful. It's nice surprise. See, that's the thing. So while we're walking, Herbie's obviously having a look around for some of the larger animals, and we're trying our best to find any sign of small little things that might catch our eye on grass blades or walking across the road. I know Herbie's also looking for that. Watch the hole there, Vivian. Oh, Emily, the most surprising thing I've ever seen in the bush. Wow, I don't know, Emily. There's, Just having a look here. Most surprising thing. Sorry, can you hear oxpeckers back there? Look, just recently. Okay, let's think about recently. That tortoise eating the snail the other day that I saw. That was very interesting. Never seen that before. The African harrierhawk digging open the bark and picking out a scorpion. Never seen that before. That's very interesting. Those are interesting. What else? That common buzzard that managed to catch the scrub hare and feed on the scrub hare. Also, something so different. So, every day there's something that, you probably haven't seen before. There's always something unique happening in the bush, which is wonderful. I'm trying to think what else. I've seen a lilac-breasted roller catch a mouse once and try and swallow. It was just too big, and it actually spat it out. But quite a big mouse like this. That was strange and unusual. Emily, that's such a difficult question. There's so many things I think that I've been fortunate enough to see. So I can't think of any one that really stands out. I think in terms of interesting animals, pangolin, the aardvark, those animals are really interesting, and I've been lucky to see a lot of them in the Kalahari and those parts of South Africa and Botswana. Not very common animals. We don't really see them a lot. So that was very interesting to see. A striped polecat, which looks just like a skunk. A lot of you would look at it and think, oh, it's a skunk. And it's called a striped polecat, black with white stripes down it. Very small little creature, mainly nocturnal. I've only ever seen that. I've seen it twice, I think. But unusual, very unusual. I don't know of many people that have seen a striped polecat. Okay, well, I wonder what interesting things Tristan has seen in his time in the bush. But he's searching for a leopard. Let's go find out how his search is going.
Well, Byron, I think that we've all seen crazy things at times that are interesting and are different, and I think there's a lot of stories that you tend to forget, but some of the most surprising ones I've had are very similar to some of yours. I had a woodland kingfisher that had a mouse so big it was only able to hold it by the tail. The rest of the mouse was the same size as the bird, so it was pretty interesting to watch how it tried to deal with that. Eventually dropped it and left it because it tried to swallow it about 10 times, but it just couldn't get that mouse down into the gullet, and so that's always a surprising thing to see. I think rare animals are always surprising, so when you're driving around an area and you don't think that you'll see that, so birds in particular, if you've come across a bird that you don't expect to see, so like that golden pipit, which is just completely random, out of nowhere, you'll see it once and you probably will struggle to ever see it again in your life in that area. Those are always surprising things. The first time I saw a speak-cinchback tortoise also eating millipedes, that was quite a surprise as well. I didn't know that they did that, and sort of enjoyed that sighting. What else? Lots of random interactions between predators like leopard and hyenas feeding off the same carcass at the same time without fighting. Watching two leopards feeding off a carcass at the same time, which is generally unheard of. What else? There's all kinds of things. There's lots of different different situations, and you tend to kind of forget about some of them over the time, but then you remember later when you see that particular animal and it reminds you of it. So there's lots of little special sightings here and there that we all kind of cherish and are unusual to us. I'm just trying to think of one that's been recent that I've had that's pretty unusual. I suppose those three leopards together, that was pretty cool. Tamba, Hosana, Tingana, that was a pretty insane thing. Just to see how relaxed Tingana was, and the fact that he let the two young boys eat rather than him eating, that's certainly a big surprise. I didn't think he would be like that at all. Who else? I'm just trying to think what else I've seen of late. Unusual birds, like I say, a few of them at Chitwa Dam. There's white-winged terns and whiskered tern. That's unusual. There's a little button quail. Is it going to